Welcome to Legal Graffiti Sessions, a window into the mind of personal injury lawyer Joe Zarzaur. In each episode, Joe sits down with thought-provoking guests, dives into issues that matter, and shares his unfiltered take on law, life, and culture.
Welcome to Legal Graffiti Sessions. As you know, our firm, Zarzaur Law, has for years done a lot of social media. The social media was geared towards educating the public about the civil justice system. And as everybody has realized that's online these days, social media can only give you a thumbprint of basically what a topic is about. And the long-form podcast does a better job at actually getting into the details and the underlying facts of cases so that you can actually understand where they're coming from. And we thought Legal Graffiti Sessions would be a good way to display and to complement what we're doing on social media. Our highlight's going to be obviously the civil justice system, specifically cases that matter to the general public that can hopefully prevent other harms to people by just consuming that information and understanding what to look out for. That's the basis of what we do every day. That will be the basis of this podcast, the goal of this podcast. So our first guest is going to be, for this brand new podcast, is going to be the father of a victim of gross medical malpractice. It's also borderline criminal, or is criminal, because the doctor's been charged with culpable negligence. The doctor's Ben Brown. He was a local plastic surgeon, local to the area, Okaloosa, Santa Rosa, Escambia County area. I think his office was in Santa Rosa County. He had just married a lady by the name of Hillary Brown. Hillary's father, Marty Ellington, is going to be our first guest. Hillary died during a procedure performed by her husband in her husband's office, and the allegations are that he was culpably negligent by basically killing Miss Brown by giving her a toxic amount of lidocaine, which is difficult to do, I understand, but he was able to do that. And then following the administration of a toxic dose of lidocaine, I understand it was 3 different vials, he then delayed summoning the EMTs, despite the medical technologists, medical assistants in his office urging him to call EMS. He delayed that, ordered them not to call EMS for several minutes. And then by the time Miss Brown got care, she was already, I think, past the point of oxygen deprivation, where her brain was basically the first to go. And by the time they got her to Sacred Heart here in Pensacola, I believe she didn't have any brain function. So they ended up taking her off life support after several days, and her parents were summoned to come into town. They get into town, and Mr. Ellington, her dad, is going to talk about what that was like to get that call, what Hillary was like as a person, and how it's been to deal with the fallout of having your daughter basically killed by her husband, physician, during a medical procedure. That's what we're going to do for the first podcast. Thank you, Mr. Ellington. Welcome to the podcast. Tell us about Hillary. Tell us what she was like as a daughter and mother before all this happened.
Super smart, confident, athletic. Everybody loved Hillary. I mean, quick-witted, the best mom you could ever ask for. I mean, her kids were her life. Even from a small child, our son was sick a lot. He had complex partial seizures, and she stepped up to be little mom. You know, never was she a jealous person that we were spending more time with him because of his health issues and stuff. And I mean, I'm not saying it because she's no longer here. I couldn't be more proud. I mean, you know, pretty often I told her how proud I was of her as a young woman and her accomplishments and what she had done.
That was an older brother or younger brother?
No, it was younger brother. He was 6 years younger. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so she was like a mother hen over her younger brother who had a medical issue.
Yeah. She just had that nature. I mean, from the point that, you know, we made fun of her a lot. I mean, if there was a stray cat or a stray dog, I mean, you know, she'd bring it home, and I told her that I could just see her one day having about 50 cats around home. But she just cared so much about, for other people and for nature.
Where did she grow up mainly?
Around Oxford, Mississippi.
Oh, and that's where you're from.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. I have some relatives up in North Mississippi myself, Batesville and Clarksdale and Greenville. So I spent a lot of time up in the Delta. So she was a Delta girl.
Yeah.
No, wow. Tell us, how old was she when she first met Dr. Brown?
It was about just over a year from what we know about. Now, I
Right.
think from what we understand, she had a breast augmentation while she was married, and Brown is the one that did her breast augmentation. She had of a previous marriage. It didn't work out, so they were going through a divorce. She had told us that she was moving out, and we had never been introduced to this guy to know anything about it. We're very ethical people, and so when I found out she's moving in with another guy, I mean, I put on the daddy hat all of a sudden, and it's just I disagreed with it. But she's 30 years old. What am I going to do?
Right. There's only so much you can
And
do.
and so anyway, we loaded a U-Haul. We moved to Pensacola and moved her in with this guy, handsome guy, well put together, great practice, everything with us. And of course, look, my daughter was gorgeous, but as a father, you start asking yourself, why her? Here it is, a woman in her 30s with 3 kids. Why would a guy want her? If he could have any woman he wanted, why not some 25-year-old, beach blonde? Why my daughter?
No kid, without kids.
Yeah, without kids.
Yeah,
And
right.
so you're taking a middle-aged woman with baggage, but again, she's gorgeous. She fit every role. I don't know that Hillary had a fault. She loved a challenge, even back in college. She come on with some kind of experiment in chemical engineering. I remember one in particular where they gave her soda water, a 2-liter Coke bottle, and make like a car. The challenge was who could make it go the fastest and who could make it go the farthest. And so you had to work out in your mind. You had to work out the dilution rate and all this kind of stuff. So, we stayed up to 3 o'clock 2 nights in a row to try to come up with this crazy, thing. And she was so happy whenever she won.
Wow.
Or if she fixed the boat lift, she would text me just to tell me that she went in and schematically had fixed the boat lift. I mean, she's starved for gratitude and challenges.
Where'd she get that from you, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you what are you, an engineer? What kind of profession?
Yeah, electrical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But now, I did because I threw a hard baseball.
I got it.
Mom's the one that's got the brains.
Okay. Well, I understand. How's her brother now? How's he dealing with all this?
He's okay. He got, I think, I don't know the exact year, maybe 10, 11 years old. He couldn't ride a bike.
Right.
They didn't know if he was just being a kid and go into seizure and fall and he could get hurt. But he had to go 5 years without having one to get off of medication. And now he's doing fine.
No seizures, huh? He's completely
No.
gone. Oh, thank goodness. That's great. When did you first sense there was something weird, if you did?
Well, every time we went around him, he was always real distant. He would never come around us. He'd go in the basement where he had a little workshop and he would do little things or whatever. And so I didn't know then if maybe it's just uncomfortable. We tried to put on that front that being supportive, and we were, but he just never had a lot to do with us, when we were around. Later in the relationship, we started seeing hostility. Whenever he asked me, I thought it was noble that he wanted to walk down on the pier with me. And so we walked out on the pier and he said they were going on vacation. He wanted to ask Hillary to marry him. Oh. And I said, well, I appreciate you asking me. Because again, when you're talking about people in their 30s, he didn't have to ask me anything.
Right.
I said, but she deserves to be loved. She has gone through a pretty ugly divorce, and So that's just all I wanted as a father, is for him to love her. And like I said, after that, we started seeing little bits of, they fought a lot, argued a lot, even in the later parts. Dixie, well, I mean, she had surgery or something one time, and Dixie went down there for about a week to stay with them, to kind of help her with the kids and stuff.
Dixie's your wife or the mom?
My wife,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. Okay, sorry.
So she went down to kind of help Hillary, after she had surgery with the kids, and she called me in about 3 days, and she said, "Look, you got to get me out of here." And I said, "What?" And she said it's just screaming nonstop. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
between the two of them, and I'm saying, they've been married a year. They should be in honeymoon. Why the hostility? Now Hillary was a handful. She didn't take a whole lot of mess.
Right.
She was 100 pounds of firecracker, but she wasn't gonna let anybody run over either.
Were you able to get a sense of what they were arguing about? Was it finances?
No,
Was
it's
it?
just, of course, you never know what somebody's household looks like. But they put on the front of they didn't have any financial problems. Later on, we find out differently. But I mean, it's a blended family. So
Right.
he had kids from her previous, she had kids from her previous. Whether it's blend, whether it's overstep, you don't know. And to me, as a father, and I suppose like many fathers, she left me to live with another man. So as long as he's not abusing her physically, I mean, my God, my wife and I've been married 36 years. We get in
Right.
arguments, we don't get in yelling fights, but
Right.
we get arguments, and it's generally over the smallest, simplest thing that doesn't matter. And so I try not to get involved in their arguments. Later into it, she didn't call us for about a month, and this is well into maybe 2 or 3 months before her death. And I was trying to figure out what we did to upset her. And she finally called Dixie one night and was talking to her, and said that they had gotten into a fight about something, and he had her arrested, and called and said that she had tried to commit suicide. Called the sheriff's department and said she was unresponsive. Well, when the sheriff showed up, she wasn't unresponsive. She was pissed. And if I go home and my wife, I suspect, is taking a bunch of pills and committed suicide and unresponsive, 911 is the first call I'm going to make. It's not going to be the sheriff's department,
Right.
And so,
Good point.
And we'll get into this more of the meat of this later. But the sheriff shows up and said, did you try to commit suicide? And of course, now she's pissed, and she said, "Yeah, I want to make a point." I mean, she didn't try to commit suicide. She was being
Facetious.
kind of sarcastic.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he used his authority to have her taken under the Baker Act. She went to this place, and they were going to turn her loose, and he tried to push them, and they kept her overnight. The next day, the ladies at the clinic said, "You don't need to be here."
Right.
And they released her, and he was going to come pick her up, and they made a comment to her, "Are you sure you're going to go home with this guy?"
Wow.
What we're learning with the judicial system, and you face it every day, there's things that we can't discuss. There's things we can't talk about.
That's right.
It should be, when she went in the operating room that day, 2 people were responsible whether she went home that night, and it was her and God Almighty. And
That's
my
right.
God's a loving God.
Right. So when did she make the decision, and maybe it was immediate, that she was going to work in his office? Or was that something that just was understood from the beginning?
And we're here again. She loved a challenge.
Right.
She had a chemical engineering is
Right.
what she went to school in. It wasn't anything medical.
Right.
She goes in, and he starts complaining about staff, and again he's building her up, and again we look, and as a father we can understand why. As a common layperson, you look and said, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. But she stepped in, and she starts, this guy's making too much money. He's abusing. So, I'll get rid of him. And you've got these 2 girls doing a task that one person could do. So she's looking at efficiencies. And so she lets go of them and gets other people in. And then, the profits start rising, and she gets accolades for saving him all this money, and they're making more money. And so she thinks she's doing a good job. And at some point, the professional should have stepped in and said, "You know what? Wait a minute. I've got to have licensed medical technicians. I've got to have, people that are doing this that know what they're doing,
Right.
you know. But again, the proverbial snowball was getting bigger and bigger, and she thought she was doing a fantastic job. Nobody stopped to think about what the legal ramifications might be.
Did you know she was going to have a procedure the day this all came to a head?
I didn't. I mean, I had told her for months into this, and I can't say years because they only been married just over a year. But she would have some little something done here or there, or the lips were the big thing. I mean, when she started having her lips done, and I would say, why are you doing this? You're absolutely gorgeous. Why do you want to change the way you look? Well, if so and so can have it done, I can have it done. Well, so and so might need to have it done, but you don't need to have it done.
Right.
And of course, again, as a father, you have to be careful what you say. But I did show that I didn't like it. But I mean, women every day get different things done, and it makes them feel good about themselves. But no, that day I knew nothing. Dixie, ironically, 2 weeks before, had a massive car accident.
Oh no.
She had broken 7 ribs and 2 vertebrae in her back.
Oh my gosh.
So she couldn't get out of bed. I'd worked all day. I got off, went to the grocery store, got groceries for the house, and I was pulling out of the parking lot, and the phone rang, and I saw it was Ben, and I answered the phone, and he said, I was doing a small procedure on Hillary, and she said, I'm seeing orange and passed out, and she's unresponsive. Get here as quick as you can. That was the link. That was the extent of the phone call.
You actually spoke to him though.
Yeah. It wasn't a text. It was a phone call.
Okay. Okay.
And so my heart sank. I'm waiting for the punchline.
Right.
That's the story for another day.
Right.
I get that phone call. I'm thinking it's just some sick joke, and I'm waiting for something to, oh, I'm just joking. How are y'all doing? I go home. I text him on the way. Where do we go to? I don't even know. In Pensacola,
Right.
Go Freeze. Where are we going? And to find out what hospital. Couldn't get a flight out. I'd been working, 11 hours that day. Really didn't feel like driving 12 hours, but I should have because I didn't get any sleep. But we got a flight out first thing the next morning. Flew into the hospital, and the minute I walk in, his dad's already there. And I was like, how did he get a flight from Minnesota, and I'm in Houston, one of the major airports, and I can't get a flight out?
You were in Houston when he called you?
Yeah, and I had to call the doctor to get Dixie special medical clearance before she can get on the airplane, because again, she's bandaged from head to toe. Well, we have to get her to the gate in a wheelchair.
Oh my gosh.
It's something. So anyway, I had just had sinus surgery, and so we were just.
Oh my
It
gosh.
couldn't happen worse time. But anyway.
So you walk in the ER, or you walk in the hospital, and his dad is there from Minnesota. Did you know him from like the wedding or something, or how did you?
Didn't.
First time you met his dad.
Yeah, first time I met him.
All right. What did he say? What did he say to you?
For a day, he didn't say a word.
The dad.
Nope, not a word. And of course, later on, I found out after we got to know each other, great guy.
Yeah.
But I, and then.
So it was more like he didn't know what to say to you, like he was scared to talk. Okay.
I think he was going to be the bodyguard. He was going to think I was going to come in and just go postal.
Right.
And but I walked in and literally, and I'm trying to get emotional with this one. The worst sight you could ever dream of as a father.
I mean, I have a daughter.
Yeah, it's. I said I wasn't going to, but I took a picture.
Wow.
Because I wanted to remember it.
And she was all hooked up to whatever, and.
Yeah. You couldn't see her eyes were open, and you're just in a glazed stare.
Oh my gosh.
And I asked him, I said, Ben, what happened? I don't know. So what do you mean you don't know? You're
a board certified plastic surgeon.
Yeah. And I spoke to him in a calm manner. Again, I'm in shock. What do you mean you don't know? If somebody asks me something about electrical theory, I can tell them 1 or 2 things that it could be.
Right.
That's the way it is, but I can get pretty close.
Right.
And I know the human body is very complicated, but that's why you go to school so long. You have an idea of what happened. Immediately, his father said, "Have you ever thought about toxicity?" I didn't know what that word was. And I said, "What's toxicity?" And my wife said, "Too much."
Of
He said,
something.
Would you give her lidocaine or what?" And he said, "Yes, just a little lidocaine." I said, "Just in her lips?" And he said, "Well, she had something done to her stomach. She had something done to her arm. She had, a little bit done to her eye." And Dixie asked, said, "Well, did you give her too much?" And he said, "No, I just gave her just a little bit." Well, later we find out he gave her 3 vials of it.
Oh my gosh.
And the last one, he ran out of the two diluted. The last one was undiluted. The first night came, you can only have 2 people in the ER or the ICU.
ICU. Yep.
Yeah. Only 2 people in ICU. But him and his dad wouldn't leave. So my daughter is laying there, dying. My wife and I had to leave her and go get a hotel room. And so I start, and when I talked to the detective down at the sheriff's office, I told them from day one, look, I'm not going down a rabbit hole. Your mind plays tricks on you. You see a coat in the corner of your room at night, and you look at that coat enough, and there's,
A person.
there's somebody sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wasn't going to let my mind go there.
Right.
I'm too smart for that.
Right.
But then I got to watching demeanor. I got to watching things. He would act as though he's crying hysterically. Then a nurse would come in. Or
You're talking about Brown. Ben Brown.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as soon as somebody come in, crying stopped immediately. And he's back to professionalism. And I went, how do you do that? Joe, I don't know about you.
Yeah.
If I lose it, emotionally lose it, there's no way I can gain composure. It's going to take a minute.
That's right.
I mean, me trying to tell you some things, I would start to get emotional, and I have to stop for a minute. And that's not even crisis hysterically. That's just emotion. And so I told my wife that night, I said, I don't want to stir up anything or put anything in your head, but tomorrow when we get to the hospital, watch him. And she said, what? And I said, how does somebody do that? How do they? My wife is laying there lifeless. My daughter is laying there lifeless, and I can't even speak. But this guy, all of a sudden, emotion would take over, and he can just cut it off. And so the next, I think it was the third day, and his father said, "What?"
By the way, no response. Like your daughter never responded. Did she know you were there? Were you? I mean, did you have any private time with her where you could talk and see if she?
No, he never left her side. I mean, at night, I would say, "Go get you some rest."
Right.
And I'd say, "Nope, I'm staying right here." It was almost like, and this would be one you probably had to edit, but it was like he was trying to protect something that was happening.
He didn't want anybody to
He didn't want anybody there.
get any information out of her condition or her body potentially.
If she did wake up,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
he wanted to be the first one
Oh,
there,
yeah.
make sure nothing was said.
He never left her side.
No.
For how long?
5 days.
How's that even physically possible? Like, did he change clothes? Did he?
If he had to shower,
Yeah.
and his dad would be there, he'd go take a shower in the doctor's quarters and
Oh.
come right back.
Oh, doctor's lounge.
Because they got all kind of privileges.
Right.
But anyway,
Right.
I remember the second day I was going out to catch me a breath of air. The nurse's station was right outside the ICU room that she was in, and there was a little brunette nurse in there. I said, "Has the toxicology reports come out yet?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, I just want to know." And she looked at me with the oddest look on her face, and she said, "You bet, I would too." And I was like, what did that mean? Mm-hmm. And I told my wife that look said something that she couldn't say it.
That's right.
And so it was suspicion. So again, back to the rabbit hole. The third day we're there, and his father asked, "Well, what are you going to do?" The guy said, "I'm going to close my business. I'm going to sell all my equipment. I'm going to file for long-term disability, I'm going to go buy a new truck before my credit sinks, and then I'm filing bankruptcy. I'll be damned if that ain't what happened. To the letter.
He said that. He said it in front of you.
Yes, in front of me and my wife and his dad.
Did you look at him like?
Yeah, I'm looking at him like, okay, I'm pretty sharp in business.
Right.
I say that humbly, but if my wife is laying there lifeless, there's no way that in the third day that I could have performed anything having to do with business,
No doubt,
or finances or anything. And then the third day, this guy's got it all
planned out. Yeah.
And I mean, he's not stupid. I mean, he went through med school, so he's not stupid. But finances and schematic is not his strong suit.
No doubt.
When Hillary stepped in, all the filing system, and all, she had to get all that together.
Right.
He's always had to have some assistant doing that. I had to write my own daughter's obituary because he couldn't do it. So how does a guy in 3 days put all that pathway in place? But he did. He did.
Sounds like he'd been thinking about it.
He sold his equipment that didn't even belong to him, but he sold it.
Right.
Down to my daughter's ski boots with a little caption that she doesn't ski anymore. Filed for long-term disability. He went and bought a $200,000 Range Rover and then filed bankruptcy.
Wow.
So you're an attorney. From what I know about you, malpractice is one of your specialties and stuff. And
Yeah.
and again, I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit. But here's what I know, Joe. The state of Florida has got a maximum limit of 150,000 private care, or 250 if you deal with hospital.
That's right.
I've had my attorney come back and tell me we can't help you anymore because the state of Florida, the limit is only $250,000. So by the time I pay my witnesses and my discovery and all my fees and everything else at 40%, and it's not a money thing. Look, I get it. We all have to make money, but it's not worth the time and effort to put in at a 40% cut of $250,000 after I pay all the fees.
Yep.
I'm a contractor. My insurance is $1 million is a minimum, and I've got $3 million in my aggregate. Are sticks and bricks more important than a human life?
Well, in the capital of Florida, according to the lobbyists, right, they are, because the lobbyists for the doctors and the hospitals are a lot more powerful, right, than the lobbyists for the lawyers and the lobbyists for the contractors, the lobbyists for the engineers. So the lobbyists for the healthcare industry are the highest paid, most influential lobbyists, and the laws show that. The only thing close to that is tourism in Florida.
My daughter is dead. Death is final. You can't put another quarter in the game and get another life. It's final. So all these lobbyists, everybody in the judicial system, all the people in the Department of Health, everybody need to close their eyes and realize if this happened to my daughter, what would I feel like? And then when this next session comes out that you vote on people in those positions, then maybe whenever you slide that curtain on that voting machine, you should think about it.
Not only that, Mr. Ellington, but we also have this free kill law. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it wouldn't affect Hillary's case because Hillary had surviving children. There's a law in Florida that if you die from a malpractice case, if you die without a surviving spouse or a minor child, you don't have a claim.
Right.
And Governor DeSantis had the ability to sign that, and he chose not to sign it. I know that you're championing a bill in Hillary's name, right? Hillary's law.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Hats off to Alex Andrade and anybody in the state of Florida in his district that hears this, check his name. He's nothing short of a savior himself. First time I talked to this guy, he didn't know me anything. And speaking to him, he poured his heart out because he's got He's got children himself, and he's got a daughter himself. He made it his mission to work earnestly to get this bill presented. And the first time that he's done it, it failed in the legislature. Like you said, it was, he's probably going to redo it. I think he said in November, and we're going to try again.
Tell us what it is. What is Hillary's Law?
It's got about 25 or 30 piggybacks that go along with it, but the main thing is, and it should be common sense, that no one can do procedures on their family member. In my opinion, and this is, here again, it's, I'm not stretching or pointing fingers, but I'm just saying, if I have a wife that I'm having problems with and I'm paying $10,000, $15,000 a month in child support, I'm a very successful doctor, I could lay her down on a procedure and have an accident and put her to death, and I don't have to pay any child support or alimony or anything because I'm a surviving spouse.
Right.
The limits are so low in Florida, I don't have to worry about anybody suing me.
That's right.
Because the limits are so low.
Mm-hmm.
So it sets up to be the perfect situation for a doctor, especially, if one has malice.
Right.
We have learned that evil is among us.
No doubt.
We look at the Charlie Kirk thing and everything else. I mean, we see every day in the state of Florida, you can even take out the wrong organ.
That's the case we're working on.
How pathetic it is of legislators, your judicial system, the Department of Health, the people that are supposed to be protecting the citizens of not only Florida, but the United States, that all of a sudden we don't mean anything. That's the feeling we get.
They look at the dollars coming from the healthcare lobbyists, right? And they speak louder to these politicians than the voices do, right? So the thousands of voices that are yelling at the top of their lungs, unfortunately, are drowned out by the 15 lobbyists who've got thick wallets, right? And they're lining the pockets of the right organizations, and these politicians are paying more attention to that than they are the people.
Right.
How would the citizens of Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Walton, in this area where this podcast is going to mainly be broadcast, how would the citizens in those areas help support this law? What would they need to do?
I was on Nancy Grace, and and I've got so much respect for her, what she did. She gave DeSantis' number. She gave these numbers to these
local politicians,
these representatives, and these
Yep.
senators, and you start putting heat on them. Say, you know what? You can take all the money you want, but come election day, I don't care if you're a millionaire or you live in a mobile home that's about to fall apart. Your vote counts just as much as theirs does.
How's your family been as far as finding ways to honor Hillary's memory besides this law?
Well, we've been a mess, but you look for small wins,
Right.
and I'll answer it in two ways. First of all, in looking for a win, whenever he was arrested, everybody in the courtroom, and it's on the news, everybody there has got on an orange jumpsuit. He walks in a black T-shirt and shorts and his tennis shoes.
Shorts.
Yes, shorts and a t-shirt.
In a courtroom.
Yep. And so we look at everybody else with the orange jumpsuit is classified as a criminal.
Right.
But he's just walking in like Johnny paying a speeding ticket. This guy and you can use any word you want to. You can use homicide or
Culpable negligence, whatever. Yeah, what do they call it?
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
that fancy word
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
He killed her.
Right.
Okay, let's just say it like it is. He killed her.
Right.
So this guy is there that killed somebody, and he gets to walk in a T-shirt and shorts. Everybody else in there, for whatever they did, has got orange jumpsuits on.
They can't afford bail.
No.
So what was his bail?
$50,000.
Oh, wow.
This guy put up $5,000 and was
Wait, the
lined
total
up.
was 50. I thought you meant the cash part was 50. You're
Yeah,
saying the total was 50.
Total was $50,000. And whoever that judge is, in my opinion, needs to be at Walmart greeting people when they come in.
I'm sure they had some basis in their head of what they were thinking, but culpable negligence, maybe the statutes don't allow for so much, but it seems low when somebody has
It's
died.
extremely low. Whenever you're talking about a life, again,
Right.
if I do something improper to your building and it burns down, I've got $3 million general aggregate, and on the second complaint, I'm out of business. Not only am I out of business, I can never be licensed again.
Right.
So I'm gonna find another trade.
Right.
Now, we're 2 years into it. This guy's been walking the street for 2 years, been able to get all his affairs in order, been able to sell all this stuff, $600,000 worth of sales just on Facebook Marketplace. And we're sitting here crying our eyes out, because we don't have a daughter. We're trying to explain to grandkids what happened. In their prayers, I've got a 6-year-old that said, God, would you revive mommy?
Oh my gosh. Where are the kids?
They're Mississippi.
Okay, good.
So, it is probably a 2-week-old story, but we've decided, through some testimony that I'm selling my business and selling our house, and we're moving to Mississippi to be close to the grandkids.
Oh, good.
Because he needs help.
What's going on with the criminal case? I don't want you to get into specifics. I don't want you to just tell us what stage it's at.
They won't tell me anything. I mean,
okay.
The state attorney's office, hats off to those guys.
Right.
Hats off to the sheriff's department. I mean, sheriff's department on social media took a bunch of hits through all this stuff, but I'm gonna tell you, they kept me informed of what was going on through the processes. They told me what they could tell me. I wish they would have, from day one, barricaded the place off and took blood samples from him and
right.
see if he was under some kind of influence or, what evidence is in there, but they didn't view it that way. They viewed it as a medical accident.
Right.
But beyond that, the sheriff's department has done an amazing job. The state attorney's office makes, it gives us a sense that somebody on the other side actually cares. But
good.
Back to what I was saying a moment ago about small wins, you want to see something,
Well, you got an arrest. You got an arrest. You got a prosecution, right?
They got an arrest in shorts and a t-shirt, and then then they set some measly little $50,000 bail, which is pathetic. And then he's able to file bankruptcy, but yet, and skirt away from all the people he owed. Then he was able to sell his house for $2.3 million. So he's going to hurt the rest of his life. And, we're looking for a small win. So now he's currently, the Department of Health has come down, and I think they've got to Friday to make a ruling where they're going to permanently revoke his license. It shouldn't even be, the common lay point, we shouldn't even be discussing it.
That's right.
That should have been done 2 years ago.
Right.
And especially on the shoulders of the thing you're dealing with now with taking out an organ.
Right.
You killed somebody,
right. In that case, Dr. Shagnowski's license got suspended within, I think it was a week of, they suspended Brown's license, right? But it's not been revoked. Is that,
correct.
Yeah. And so is he mounting a defense in his medical board case, or is he?
Yeah. He did nothing wrong. He did everything by, you could hear it on 911 call screaming for get my blanking stethoscope. But yet he's saying he did everything the way it was supposed to.
But did some of the nurses? This is all public information, so I'm not saying anything I don't think everybody already can read themselves.
And I'm the same way, yeah.
Didn't the nurses that were around in the room ask him if they wanted to call 911, and he said no a couple of times? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now, why would you ever say no to that?
Arrogance. We planted a live oak tree on the golf course. We live on a golf course, and so I can look out my patio doors and see the tree. But, her birthday was September the 2nd, and we were able to go and put angel wings on the tree and big bows on the tree. There's a monument under the tree so all the golfers can see. The hole is dedicated to all of us.
Oh, wow.
So, we try to keep it alive. It's what really hurts more than anything are the kids.
Right.
Parents we don't deserve it, but God does things for a reason, and we've learned to oddly try to just go on and survive. But kids really don't deserve it. Their minds are not equipped to deal with it.
Not at all.
when you see a 10-year-old having to compartmentalize the pains and they're having something at school where everybody's mommy is coming and bringing cookies and some program and their mommy's not there.
It's another trauma. Every time it happens, it's another trauma.
Back to these lobbyists and everything, they need to know what it goes beyond just the victim or the victim's parents, and but it's the family and everybody's life that she touched, and we don't want anybody to have to go through this again. So if Hillary's law can prevent just one, her life has got to mean something.
Frankly, I always thought that was a law. Like, I think people assumed that it wasn't. I know maybe it's an ethical provision that they have. They're not supposed to work on their family, but I always thought that it was inappropriate. I didn't know it wasn't illegal. It should be illegal, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you and I think I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think we both agree it could be rather convenient.
No doubt. I mean, if you call the police to your house and you're in a fight with your wife and there's some accusation of violence, somebody's going to jail. But it sounds like if you're at if you're at a medical office and you're in a fight with your wife potentially, then nobody's going to ask any questions. So, especially if you can plausibly say, "Oh, they're my patient." What does that mean, that you can't even ask any questions about it? I mean, it seems crazy.
And the two people you got in the office, one is a medical assistant on her 4th day on the job, and the other has no medical training whatsoever.
They had more sense than him about calling 911, which is crazy.
Correct.
Yeah. We hope there's a full prosecution. I can tell you on behalf of the family of Mr. Bryan that lost him to Dr. Shagnosky, they're waiting on the Sheriff's Department in Walton County and the State Attorney's Office, the same one that you're dealing with, to do something, because we got a situation where even if it's just culpable negligence, I mean, the liver's on one side of the body, the spleen's on the other side of the body. I know it's only a small victory for your family to have the arrest, but to those that don't even have that yet, it's a major victory.
And the thing about it is, he didn't even spend overnight in jail. He was phone call, giving him the opportunity to turn himself in. He shows up at the sheriff's office, walks down the hall, meets there. He pays his little $5,000, goes back home. I mean, as a father, I can't tell you the feeling.
Did y'all file any kind of motion to revoke his bail or to raise his bail?
I've tried, but
okay.
They said that he hadn't had any prior criminal
right.
So they couldn't for those reasons. But ironically, they've got felony judges and of course you got some misdemeanor judges.
Right.
It just happened to be that whenever they called him to come turn himself in, it happened to be a misdemeanor judge that did, traffic citations or whatever.
Right.
So maybe $50,000 to him is a large amount, but you would think that somebody looking at that had killed somebody, that a judge that deals with those felonies would have been the judge instead of a misdemeanor judge.
Misdemeanor judge, yeah. It sounds low.
Like I said I've said this before, and it was quoted. The guy didn't steal a Snicker bar at 7-Eleven. He killed somebody.
Right. I'm assuming the state attorney's office considered other charges, but they felt like they had a slam dunk on the culpable negligence, because culpable negligence is just a little bit higher than the negligence we deal with in a medical malpractice case, or even a automobile accident, right? You have levels of negligence, and culpable negligence is just a little bit higher than regular negligence. So they must have felt really good with the level of proof that they had when they first brought the charges. But I wonder if all the stuff that they've learned since, I wonder if they have thought about maybe bringing even higher charges.
What they told me is, I said, and again, emotion drives a lot of my opinion, but
right, of course.
I'm not a lawyer or in the law field. I am analytical, as you can tell. So
yes, sir.
When I break things down and I look at what I know is that lidocaine metabolizes quickly, and you could reverse engineer it and find out, if it was a 3.4 at the time that they took a sample at the hospital. And you factor in, even conservatively, what the time frame was whenever You can find out what the rate is and can figure out about what that tox level would have been at the time that and of course he knew that too. He knew that let's go to Navarre, let's don't go straight to Sacred Heart. When the ambulance comes, let's go to Navarre. So let's go 12 miles the other way. And that's going to take maybe 30, 35 minutes because I know they don't do anything having to do with that kind of care.
Nothing. There. Yeah, nothing.
Then when we come back the other way, let's don't stop at Baptist, which is on the way. Let's pass Baptist, even though he does work at Baptist. Let's pass that hospital. Let's go on to Sacred Heart. So let's create another 30, 35 minutes.
Right.
Because, I did it accidentally, but we're gonna make sure we get her some good care.
Wow.
It doesn't take much to figure all this stuff out.
Did they go through? Did they go through all his devices, all his phones, and his?
No. And Hillary's phone, I grant you, is in the bay somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, they never found it?
No. But they didn't tell me that they have. So, again, I would have, not to say they don't know what they're doing. Like I said, they've been great to me. But I would have got laptops. I'd have got every device. I would have looked at, and just what I've got on my phone right now.
Right.
In his text messages.
Right.
Would blow your headphones off.
And they hadn't asked for those either.
Nope.
Wow. Well.
Whenever I asked I said, we have nothing of my daughter's, her personal effects.
Right.
And her remains that I'd like to bring them home. And he tells me that your daughter hated you. She didn't love you.
Oh my.
And I've got it on my phone. Why would she needs to stay with me.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry you're dealing with that. That's
at the end of this trial.
I can't believe you referred to him as noble at any point after that. But I appreciate you doing that, being objective to some degree, but what a piece of.
He is. I mean, that here again, if we weren't on a public podcast, I could probably tell you a lot more. But anyway, my saving grace is there's going to come a day, and I pray this every night, that he's going to be found guilty, and I'm going to get a impact statement.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to stand and look him right square in the eyes, and I'm going to tell him what he's done to my family. And I hope that whoever his roommate is in jail loves him just as much
I get it.
as she did him.
Right. Me too. Me too. After that happened to Hillary, our firm got inundated with a lot of his patients, I guess, if you want to call them that. I call them victims. But he was just as sloppy as a doctor could be, right? And it was unfortunate that Hillary had to be one of those people too, right? I don't think a lot of people know the backstory that they were having issues and that, you know what I mean? They don't know all that because the way the media seems to portray it is they got this happily married doctor and his wife and she's doing just some treatment on the side, between patients, and something just went wrong during the procedure. We've
got guys, I can't call any names, but we've heard that from extremely reliable sources of her being thrown against the wall or break her tailbone, and we don't know this till after all this has happened.
Right.
From people very close to her. We hear all this stuff, and look, she's the kind, she wasn't going to take anything.
Right.
But the one thing that meant most to her in the world are those kids. And again, being analytical, I look back and women take abuse, and I don't think there's anything on the law books that's stiff enough to what I think to a sorry guy that abused a woman.
No doubt. Especially after they're unconscious.
Yeah, she would have left sooner. And of course, we hear from friends that she had already told them that she was going to leave him after Christmas. And he might have caught wind of that. Maybe he did. And maybe that's why she never made it to Christmas. She had just left one marriage, with 3 kids. And if she left this one, what kind of failure was it going to make her look like? You know, pulling her kids, uprooting her kids again, moving in with somebody else or whatever. And what is she going to tell her kids? So if she could stick it out another day, stick it out another week, stick it out another month. And
Right.
this same storyline goes on for, you hear victims of domestic abuse all the time, and that's the story. You know, a true narcissist, they're looking for that one more high, that next day is going to be a little bit better.
Well, I'm sorry your family's living through this. It's a blessing that those kids have you and your wife, right? Because you guys sound like the most stable people ever.
We're not. We're a mess. I mean,
well, I know but you sound like you're grounded and you know what's up, and you're going to be reliable parents now, right?
I told somebody the other day, Jelly Roll's got a song out now, and it's "We're Not All Right, We're Going to Be Okay."
Oh yeah,
and I think that fits us.
I get it. Is there anything else you want to tell the people consuming this information in this area that you hadn't already told us?
I want to affirm again, I mean, nothing against the governor of Florida or the legislators or anything else, but, you need to start doing your job.
Right.
Department of Health, you need to start doing your job.
Yep. Slaps on the wrist for these doctors historically have not done anything to them. And here we are. We've gotten to a point now where doctors can take out livers instead of spleens. They can kill their wives. I mean, things are a little bit out of control in Florida when it comes to the Department of Health, right? So perhaps the pendulum should swing the other direction now. Maybe they've gotten a little bit too much leeway, right? And it's time to maybe constrain them a little bit more. I think that's what needs to happen too. And maybe they can start with passing Hillary's law to do something that I already frankly thought was already the law. But thank you, Mr. Ellington. Best to you and your family. We'll be looking and cheering on the prosecution of Ben Brown, and we'll celebrate with you all in spirit when that happens.
Drinks are on me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Thanks for joining us for Legal Graffiti Sessions. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Stay connected with us at zarzaurlaw.com.